Chapter 1. Let you have a condition. Laura Green opened her eyes from her coma. The room was dark. All she could hear was the man's heavy breathing and the pain he was causing her. She tried to push the man away, but it was as if her fist had landed on a piece of cotton. She couldn't call out, so she could only pray in her heart. Quickly, stop. When she woke up again, the sky was already bright outside. Laura Green opened her eyes and looked at the unfamiliar room. Her mind raced with the scenes from last night. She abruptly sat up, feeling a burst of pain. When she got out of bed and saw the small red flower on the bed, she clenched her fists. Not a dream. The bathroom door opened. A man came out of the bathroom. When she saw his face, she fell back on the bed, frightened. Why was it him? The man was only wearing a towel. He glanced at her before asking lazily, "You're awake?" Laura Green swallowed her saliva. She stood up with much difficulty, feeling nervous and uneasy. "Mr. Walton." The man wiped the water droplets on his hair naturally and said, "If you have anything to say, then say it later. Go and wash up first." Laura Green lowered her gaze. "No need. I still have things to do, so I'll be leaving first." "Miss Green, don't you need to explain what happened last night?" Laura Green blushed. How was she going to explain this? Did she need to report to him that she had drunk too much and didn't know what had happened? Laura Green breathed heavily, raised her head, and looked at William Walton. "Mr. Walton, I'm very clean. I don't have a venereal disease, and I don't think Mr. Walton suffered any losses last night, so can you pretend this never happened?" In fact, she seemed to be confident, but her last sentence was spoken in a very cowardly manner. "I know you are very clean. After all, I have already verified it." Laura Green blushed slightly. Did he have to say it so loudly? How awkward. "I'm just asking you if you need me to do anything for you. I don't think you'd want me to send you off with a check." Laura Green was stunned. "I don't need anything. I just hope that Mr. Walton can keep this a secret. That's all?" Laura Green replied seriously. William Walton raised his good-looking eyebrows and looked at the skinny girl in front of him. Finally, he nodded expressionlessly. Laura Green grabbed her clothes and bag and quickly left the hotel room. William Walton smiled charmingly. This woman. Interesting. Laura Green only had one thought in her mind. She wanted to leave William Walton's side right away. In Northern City, this 27-year-old CEO of Imperial Emblem Group, William Walton, represented power, wealth, and danger. Legend has it that in order for him to become the Imperial Emblem Group's CEO, he did not hesitate to kill his own big brother, crippling his own second brother, and finally succeeded. If there was a person in this world that Laura Green didn't even dare to think about, she wouldn't dare to covet it either. This person must be Mr. Walton, because Imperial Emblem Group was their sworn enemy. As for her, she never wanted to have anything to do with Andersons again in her entire life. Outside the hotel, she slapped herself. Are you crazy? A two-legged toad is easier to find than William Walton. Why you have to? If that person from Anderson family knew about this, she shook her head, not wanting to think about the consequences. Her cell phone rang. She took it out and took a look. It was William Walton. Her fingers trembled. It was the first time his number had appeared on her cell phone screen. Why did he call her? Would she look guilty if she didn't answer the phone? Only after a long while did she pick up the phone. Mr. Walton, as compensation for stealing your first time, I'll give you a condition. At any time, you can find me to help you do one thing, except to make me fall in love with you. Laura Green froze for a moment, then said coldly, Mr. Walton, I think you misunderstood me. I'm not here to sell myself. Chapter 2, Dog Blood Encounter. William Walton raised his eyebrows. Laura Green continued, That's why I don't need to use my first time to exchange for anything. Also, I'm officially resigning my position because from today onwards, I will be busy with my graduation thesis. I might not be able to give your brother any more supplementary lessons. We will not meet again in the future. Therefore, I wish you a prosperous business and a happy life here. Goodbye. After she finished speaking, she hung up the phone. On the other end of the phone, William Walton smirked. We won't meet again? Was this woman hating him? Heh, since when was it her turn to decide? He pulled the phone away from his ear and stared at the screen. You dare to hang up on me? Laura Green, you're the first. Laura Green started to run away from the villa she didn't belong to. However, after just one step, she almost fell down. Damn it, how did William Walton torture her last night? This also, it was too painful. In the afternoon, she received a call from the headmaster. After that, she walked into the principal's office with a heavy expression. The principal, dressed in a proper lady's dress, looked at the slim figure of Laura Green. Laura Green, I know you're a talented girl, and you're also very smart, but our Gao family won't accept an orphan as our daughter-in-law. So, let me ask you one last time. Do you want to choose our family's Avery, but lose your job or give up on Avery and stay in school? There were no ripples in Laura Green's eyes. Almost at the same time the principal finished speaking, she said, I'm not an orphan. But to us, it makes no difference. She clenched her fist. Anyways, her mother had passed away, so being an orphan would be much better than being an illegitimate daughter in Anderson family, wouldn't it? Without any hesitation, she said, I choose to stay. Monica Brown was surprised by Laura Green's answer. This was different from her previous 3 answers. You won't go back on your word when you get a job? If Principal Lin is afraid that I would go back on my word, I can write you an agreement right now. I will break up with Avery Harris. Good. Very good. In these 2 years, I have given you enough face and never appeared to break up the relationship between you and Avery. But now that you are graduating, Avery also has his own path to take, so from now on, I hope you will remember your words. I will. When Laura Green came out of the office building, she noticed that it was already raining heavily outside. She ran through the rain. She still had to hurry to become a home tutor. Her boyfriend was gone, and her job at Walton Family was gone. She couldn't lose another chance now. As she reached the school gates, a familiar car pulled up in front of her. The car door opened and a couple got out, men holding umbrellas for women. Laura Green stopped in her tracks. She was planning to turn around and dodge, but the girl suddenly shouted to stop her. Laura Green. The girl ran towards her from under the umbrella and held her hand tightly. Laura Green, I'm sorry. It was my fault. You hit me and scolded me. Behind them, the man hurried forward, holding an umbrella over the girls' heads. He looked at Laura Green with guilt written all over his face. Laura Green, I really don't know what happened yesterday. Looking at the two in front of her, Laura Green didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The plot of the story was really unoriginal. She had thought that it would only appear in incredible, vulgar novels. One of them was her boyfriend, the other a roommate. Tragically, they had made love to each other without her knowing, and she had found out. That was why she had been so drunk. Laura Green ignored the girl. She looked at Avery Harris with a cold expression and asked, Avery Harris, do you know why I chose you as my boyfriend among all the suitors? Chapter 3, Self-propelled. Avery Harris lowered his eyes and didn't say anything, but his face was full of guilt. However, Laura Green smiled. Because you said, I'm very warm. The girl went up and blocked Laura Green's view of Avery Harris. Laura Green, it's my fault. I seduced Avery. I'm the one who's shameless. He's a good guy, so don't blame him, okay? Laura Green tried her best to remain calm, glanced at the girl, and said to Avery Harris, they said that everyone has to pay a price for their youth, and you are probably the most painful price that I have to pay for it. Avery Harris, I have to thank you. It was you who taught me. Men are not as reliable as they seem. Thank you for teaching me to grow. Sorry, Laura Green. Avery Harris still apologized. Laura Green sighed, then she shook her head and smiled. Avery Harris, you don't have to feel sorry for me. Now we are even, because I got the job I want. You don't owe me anything anymore. And you, Elsie Clark, remember, from the moment you jumped onto Avery Harris's bed, we weren't friends. I'll give him to you, but I also have a request for you, and that is, don't pretend to be familiar with me in the future, because I won't waste my friendship and goodwill on you anymore. I still have to hurry to class, so I won't accompany you two to have fun in the heavy rain. Goodbye. Then she took a step back, skirting the two of them as she ran to the side of the road. Because she was too confused, she did not notice the black Bentley, who was about to enter the school. By the time she reacted, it was already too late. She crashed into the car. She staggered back and fell to the ground. Avery Harris, who was behind her, exclaimed, Laura Green. Just as he was about to run forward, he saw Laura Green, who had her back to him, stand up with difficulty. Without another word, she limped to the car, opened the door and got in. There were still people in the car. She didn't look at it. She just looked at Avery Harris, who was walking towards them, and shouted to the driver, Take me to Qingshu Road, or I'll sue you for bumping into me. The driver looked back at the man in the car with a hint of worry. The man's voice was melodious. Do as this lady says. The driver backed up and left the school. After walking for a long distance, Laura Green stared out of the window in confusion. Thinking about Avery Harris, she felt really sad. Avery Harris would never know what she did last night because of him. She really regretted it now, regretted being impulsive. But now, she had lost Avery Harris, lost her friends, and lost her original chastity. Think about it. Should she define yesterday as the most unlucky anniversary? By the side, a man handed over a white towel. It's all wet. Wipe it out. Laura Green came back to her senses and took the towel. I'm sorry, I dirtied your... Mr. Walton? She saw the man sitting beside her. It was William Walton, whom she had just mentioned this morning that she would never see again. Laura Green was shocked, speechless. What? You're surprised to see me? Laura Green stammered for a moment. What are you doing here? Miss Green, should I remind you that this is my car? Laura Green quickly reacted. That's right, she was the one who forced herself into this car. Oh, sorry, I've dirtied your car. I'll wash it for you when the rain stops. Chapter 4. Pick her up. Laura Green pushed open the door and was about to get out of the car. William Walton said to the driver, Get an umbrella for Miss Green. The driver brought an umbrella for Laura Green and gave it to her. Laura Green opened her umbrella and got out of the car. She turned around and said, Mr. Walton, thank you for today. The gratitude expressed orally is not sincere at all. I want to see your actual actions. William Walton's expression was cold. Although her words made sense, Laura Green felt that something wasn't quite right. Take care. She took a step back, then turned around and walked towards the residential area with a limp. In the car, William Walton said to the driver, Stop the car. When the car came to a stop, he opened another umbrella and got out. He caught up with Laura Green and held her back. Laura Green turned around and was surprised to see him. Mr. Walton, get in. Why? You're hurt. You have to go to the hospital. Does this woman not care about her body? She didn't even know that she was injured? Laura Green lowered her head and looked at her legs. I'm fine. I just need to rest for 2 days. Are you a doctor? Can you still treat your own injuries? Get in the car. After he finished speaking, he stuffed his umbrella into her hands without any explanation, picked her up horizontally, and walked towards the side of the car. Laura Green screamed as the umbrella in her left hand fell to the ground. William Walton ignored the umbrella and stuffed her into the car. Laura Green panicked. No, I can't go to the hospital. I still have to work as a home tutor. Home tutor? In other words, you're just quitting Benjamin Walton's tutoring job? Laura Green was momentarily at a loss for words, because that was the truth. William Walton snorted and got into the car. He said to the driver in a cold voice, to the hospital. Laura Green looked at the district that was just inches away from her. She was worried, but she couldn't say anything. After all, she was guilty. At the hospital, he took her to the orthopedic department. When the doctor asked her which part of her was in pain, she blushed. I'm not in pain. The doctor looked at William Walton awkwardly and said, Miss, come to the hospital for an examination. You have to cooperate with the doctor. William Walton, who was at the side, crossed his arms and said coldly, Give her a full set of tests. Laura Green hurriedly said, No need. No need. How much does that have to be? I'm not making it. You have to do it. I will pay the fees to prevent you from coming to me and saying that the discomfort you are feeling is the after effects of today's car accident. Laura Green looked at him with a hint of anger. I wouldn't do that. People have ill intentions. Some people, in order not to teach my brother, say that they are busy with their graduation thesis. But in the end, because of different treatment, they lied. A liar cannot be seen from the face, because everyone can pretend to be innocent. Laura Green panicked. Didn't she want to avoid embarrassment in the future? The doctor made up the list and asked the nurse to take Laura Green for an examination. Laura Green went out and secretly asked the nurse, How much does this inspection cost? The nurse took a look and said, Over $6,000. Laura Green immediately snatched the list from the nurse and limped towards William Walton. I want to speak to you alone. Speak. Laura Green bit her lip. I really don't need to check. My leg is fine. What I'm hurting isn't my leg, but... She lowered her eyes and blushed. William Walton frowned. Where is it? She angrily raised her eyes and glared at him. My lower part hurts. Chapter 5. Think he is a pervert. William Walton looked down. Laura Green blushed and stubbornly turned around. In short, I don't need to see a doctor. She pressed the checklist into his hand. I'm going back, or I'm really going to be expelled. William Walton smiled at her back, then went up to stop her. What do you want now? You know where you're not feeling well. Of course you have to see a doctor. This is too embarrassing. Who would come to see a doctor for something like this? William Walton had a domineering expression. Do you want me to carry you, or do you want to obediently follow me? Seeing his serious face, she felt that he must be serious. After hesitating for a moment, she let out a depressed sigh and followed him to the gynecology department. The obstetrics and gynecology director examined her personally. She lay on the examination bed, unspeakably embarrassed. Luckily, William Walton didn't follow in, otherwise, it would be too embarrassing. When the examination was over, the doctor told her to come down and put on her pants. When she opened the curtain and came out, William Walton was sitting there. The doctor said, Master San, the lady's private areas are a little red and swollen. It must be the abrasion from last night's bedroom incident that was too intense. Laura Green closed her eyes. She felt utterly humiliated. William Walton, on the other hand, was very calm. What treatment does she need? I will prescribe medicine for her. She must remember to take the medicine on time. During this period of time, you must restrain your matters in your room. Even if you really need it, you must not use any equipment to cheer yourself up. Equipment? Laura Green wondered. Did he even use tools on her? She had been half-conscious the night before, and there were so many details that she couldn't remember them at all. So this man was gentle and refined, but he was a pervert? She opened her eyes and looked at him. His beautiful image suddenly collapsed. What's the use of having a good body? What's the use of being handsome? He's a freak. After leaving the hospital, Laura Green snatched the medicine from his hands. I won't give you the medical fees. You caused the injury anyway. She stuffed the medicine into her bag. Mr. Walton will be saying our goodbyes here. Don't ever meet again. She turned to go down the steps. William Walton smirked. You tricked me, but what was the reason for your anger in the end? He was a pervert. It's my business. In my opinion, what you're angry with is me, so it's a matter of you and me. Laura Green was speechless. He really knew how to talk. If you can't give me a reason, then tomorrow, I hope Miss Green can come to my house at the scheduled time to give Benjamin supplementary lessons. Like I said, I quit. I quit. Miss Green should also know that I have plenty of ways to make it, so that from now on, you won't be able to become a home tutor anymore, right? Aren't you a bit too much of a bully? Didn't you lie first? Laura Green gritted her teeth in anger and snorted coldly. Then I want more money. Is Miss Green trying to raise the price? That's right. Sure, I can give you as much money as you want, but you'd better not be late. He went down the steps first. After a few steps, he stopped and turned to look at her. What are you angry about? She stubbornly looked away. Speak. I just didn't expect that Mr. Walton, who looked like a modest gentleman, would actually have this kind of hobby. What kind of hobby do you think it is? You used a fun device on me while I was in a coma. You hurt me and you pretend nothing happened. William Walton scoffed. So you think that you were hurt by the tools? What do you mean by think? The doctor has already said it. I can hear it clearly with my ears. The doctor was only guessing, but I'm not going to use that kind of thing. It's too boring. Then how did I get hurt? William Walton raised his eyebrows and turned around. As he walked, he said, My size is big.